What's up? It's December 7th. It's Wednesday morning. You're listening to episode 79 of the Chasing Points podcast, the Chasing Points podcast.
Points.
Points.
Okay, Stewie Griffin.
We're your weekly honest dive into the world of sports. I'm Sam.
I'm Brandon. Oh, he let me say my goddamn name. Look at that. Wow. We're back.
It took a little bit once we hit record, and then that English sounding woman says recording in progress, and then I always have to get my mouse ready to click OK because then I can't see your face.
Oh gosh.
And it took a lot longer this time than it normally does, and thus the awkward intro. What's up, Hayes? How are you, man?
You know, just feeling like I have a case of the Mondays on a Tuesday, and when you guys hear this, it'll be Wednesday. So hopefully I'm good on this hump day. How about that? How are you?
Dude, I am just doing all I can, just living the dream.
I hear that. I just know there's an old fashioned in my very, very near future. So I'm gonna make sure I deliver the best podcast I can and reward myself with the lovely, delightful brown treat. So yeah.
Dude, I love old fashions. First, I went to that new barbecue place in Fishkill, Beast.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Great old fashioned.
Interesting.
So
I will be the judge of it.
Yeah, tell Becca the bartender that Sam says hi. And,
what up, Becca?
And it was really good. You guys should check it out. Shameless plug. Hayes, a lot to talk about this
Words
week.
Are hard today.
Words are so hard.
Mm-hmm.
It's Tuesday night. We both need drinks, but big week always of NFL news, but gonna sprinkle in a lot of college football, baseball signings, winter meetings are underway. We even have a special edition of Do You Care this week, centered around the NBA. But Hayes, I guess we'll start at the top, and I guess we'll go with America's team, right? I know you love that phrase, but
yeah,
Jerry Jones, something that we really haven't spoken too much about.
Nor has the media.
Well, nor has the media, and of all things, was again brought up and triggered by LeBron James, and I think he was absolutely right when he asked the media basically like, you ask me about every topical world news thing, every sports news event going on. How come no one's asked me about Jerry Jones and this photo from when he was 14 years old in Little Rock, with the protests and everything that happened there. Again, I know it was like 60 years ago. And Jerry's kind of sidestepped it, of course, and there's been it's been in and out of the news as you just referenced, but I thought it was a hell of a point by LeBron to bring that up, not even state his his case, because we all know how LeBron feels about stuff like this, and how he's kind of the lightning rod, right? He's asked all these non-sports questions.
Well, I mean,
and when he gives his opinion, it's like, why did LeBron say anything?
He made sure it was really specifically first he addressed the Kyrie situation. It was more of what he was talking about more than anything. It was Kyrie posted, as we spoke about before. He posted a movie that had anti-Semitic tropes in it. That is on Amazon and is still currently on Amazon, from my understanding. He never said anything. But yet now Kyrie lost his deal with Nike, was suspended from the league, and was the nonstop talk for like a month. But Jerry Jones, a photo of him back in 1957, standing outside, a part of a desegregation demonstration in Little Rock, Arkansas. Jerry right there in the photo, staring at it. Jerry's response was, essentially, I was a kid and I was curious and I was watching it. Well, see, it's crazy to me of the standard that we hold people to, and especially people of color, because when Kyrie had that situation going, when he openly said that he was not anti-Semitic, literally lost his contract with Nike, had to be suspended, so lost money there, and went through all of this and went through a bunch of media scrutiny, had to go and talk to the ALS, so on and so forth, do all these tasks, this checklist of things to do. And I'm not going to sit here and say whether it's right or wrong. I'm not going to even dive into that fact right now. But the fact that Jerry Jones on the opposite end was literally a part of one of the most racist demonstrations, a part of one of the most racist times in this country. It's kind of just like, yeah, I was curious as a kid and I was just there. And it was just like, oh, okay, Jerry, cool. You were curious. And we just walk away from it. Which is why LeBron said, you want to bring up all this other stuff, but when we don't hold other people's feet to the fire, it's only our people when this happens. And people have come out with criticism. Well, this is a different sport. It's not about the sport. It's about the media coverage and the coverage that is given. And to the fact that I've literally barely heard ESPN, Fox Sports, NFL Network, so on and so forth, that provide and put all this out there. All I keep hearing about, well, is the Cowboys going to do this? The Cowboys going to do that? Jerry was in there for a whole 5 goddamn seconds, and we didn't talk about it after that. It's really getting sickening to me that people like me are being held today. If we do something wrong, yes, I get it. That's fine. You can put us out there, but it's the length of time that is put out there and all the downfall that happens to that. Now this 80-something-year-old billionaire is sitting here scot-free, and we're just, oh, okay, he was just there for that. It's not a big deal. This is why I have a problem with the NFL. This is why I have a problem with ownership across the board. This is why I have a problem with media across the board, especially when it comes to black and white relations. And it's disgusting, honestly. But this is what this country's founded on. It's not supposed to be political, but this shit, it irks me. It really irks me. So I've said my piece.
Yeah, no, I certainly co-sign what you're saying, man. Yeah, we're certainly have different perspectives on this. Me being a white man and not, being able to, I don't know what the right words are, not being able to really align or with feelings wise, like not experiencing the same things you're experiencing. But I'm certainly with you on how this news has developed and disappeared. And it's funny. It's not funny, but it gets brought up. I think LeBron said this Wednesday night, so a whole week ago. It gets brought up on all. It makes its rounds. Thursday morning. Of course, ESPN is behind it. But they also, and Fox Sports and Sports Illustrated and all that, it gets its rounds everywhere. There's clips on social media, and then it just continues to disappear. And I know Jerry has a weekly radio spot with whatever local affiliates in the area. I did not hear. I basically did not hear his response to if anyone asked him.
And you're not going
what LeBron said. And I think that, it's part of
that's a part of the problem.
Yeah, it exists. It's there. I think we all know the reason. We all know, the situation. And it's really unfortunate. And I think it's because he's who he is that it's just kind of, it dissolves, it disappears.
Yep.
And it's hard because none of us were there. There's no video. It's not like, but he was there.
Yeah.
And if it was, the thing
wait, well, hold on to that point though. Kyrie posted a movie.
Yeah.
That he never said any anti-Semitic tropes, but yet and still this is the downfall for him.
You're not wrong, dude. I'm not, I'm on your,
no, I know you are. I'm just making sure so the audience understand this is exactly what we're talking about.
I think certainly it was big news. It's important news, but I think also the actions of Kanye West over the last X amount of weeks, months have also fueled the outrage for Kyrie too. It's like how, Kanye's doing it. Now it's Kyrie. And he gets lumped into certainly the things that Kanye has said and done over the last, I don't even know how long, are just inexcusable. And it just continues. People continue to give him a microphone and a platform and to do and say all this vicious, awful things. But I think being a black man that is always kind of, has always spoken his mind, but been in and out of quote unquote trouble as far as the media goes, gets in situations and the media makes a big deal about a lot of different things. So Kyrie's an easy target. And it got lumped in with a lot of the Kanye stuff. And again, but we all know the other, the reasons here. I haven't been following the story. We haven't even talked about the story until now, which is, on us too. But um, it's just kind of sad because it will once again disappear. And I just don't know what the next steps or the answer. It doesn't look like he's going to be held accountable.
He's not going to be, and this is what happens when people of his stature that look like him, that have the capability of making things disappear, they make them disappear. So it's not there's not just one step. There's multiple steps that need to be had, and they all need to happen in concession. And I don't know if it ever will be. Again, this country has been founded on hate when it comes to people of darker pigmentation, and this does not fall too far from that tree. I mean, it's one and the same. It's under the same umbrella. This is literally history. You can look this up on your own. I'm not going to sit here and be your history teacher. This is your job to educate yourself. I just had to say something about this because I'm not going to sit on here and do a podcast every week and not talk about something that bothers the shit out of me like this does. And this does. And it should be talked about. And it's just not going to be. And that's the sad truth. So I'm good with just leaving it right here for right now because I have so much more to say. But yeah, that's it. Let's talk about Lamar.
Yeah, I hear you, man. Certainly have some things to say too, but this is your podcast. Whenever you feel like, and I certainly understand you not wanting to open up the history books and educate people, but certainly stand with you with stuff like this. But yeah, to kind of go back into the NFL, Lamar got hurt, Baltimore Ravens quarterback.
He did.
Over the weekend. I don't know how you segue out of that, but
you did right. You did right.
Lamar got hurt over the weekend. They're speculating that he's going to be out 1 to 3 weeks with a sprained PCL. I think that's just speculation as far as the timeline. I don't know if the Ravens or John Harbaugh or anyone gave an exact timeline, but it looks like it's the Tyler Huntley show yet again in the depths of the season. The Ravens turn to a more than capable backup, a backup who's played for them in playoff games too. The next 4 matchups for Baltimore: at Pittsburgh, never an easy place to play; at Cleveland, which their defense just took over the game against the Texans, but that's not a really hard thing to do; home to Atlanta, and home to Pittsburgh. So those are the next 4 weeks on the schedule. The Ravens are in the the heart of the playoff contention here. Can they survive without Lamar? And did Lamar screw himself by not taking a deal before the season? And do you think this will ultimately impact the money he's going to make in a couple months?
I think it depends on what happens with him not being there. I think that's what's gonna show. If Huntley doesn't do well and the team doesn't do well while Lamar is gone, it could add to his value. But see what happens when I'm not here, and this is what it is. Obviously, he hasn't had the greatest stretch of games as of recent, but that could help. But I mean, this could also on the other end hurt with that injury, and depending on what actually happens from there. I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens there. More injuries. Jimmy G broke his foot. I swear, it's like these two quarterbacks could never catch a break. they never can catch a break. And they're in different stratospheres, but neither of them can catch a break. But Jimmy G breaks his foot. He's done for the season or so. They came out right before the podcast and said that he is not getting surgery and has a chance of coming back in 7 to 8 weeks. So he does have a chance coming back. I'm going to probably say he's probably not going to come back after this, but I guess we'll see. But in the meantime, Mr. Irrelevant, the first Mr. Irrelevant quarterback to actually throw a pass in the NFL, which is crazy. Brock Purdy is now QB1, rookie from Iowa. I've heard a lot of great things about him thus far, but he's still Mr. Irrelevant. So don't know
Yeah.
how great he's going to really be. Do you think what do they do long term? They have Trey Lance, who injured himself in the beginning of the season. They have Jimmy G, who they were thriving with under center. And now they have Brock Purdy. What did they do with the QB position moving forward?
This whole thing is a mess, right? It was a mess the second the Niners traded all those picks to Miami to draft Trey Lance, but I just keep thinking the amount of stuff that Jimmy G has been through in the last
Yeah.
X amount of years being traded from New England. Like, you're drafted by New England. Oh yeah, you're sitting behind the greatest quarterback of all time. You get traded, signs a huge deal. People don't think he's worth the deal. He goes, he leads his team to the Super Bowl, to title games. He's not, not good enough. It's and then he ends up signing back because he's got nowhere else to go because he was hurt, and now he's hurt again. And I have no idea. I would be more concerned if I'm John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan about right now. I mean, you're
Yeah.
going to battle now with Brock Purdy,
Yeah.
who I was looking at his college stats. He went to Iowa State, had a couple pretty good years, but there was a reason he was a 7th round pick, ultimately almost an undrafted free agent. If there's a team that can succeed with a quarterback like this, it's probably this one. The Niners defense is elite.
It is.
Their run game, their run scheme, yeah, I've been praising it for years. It's great. I mean, you have CMC and Debo and Brandon Ayuk, and oh yeah, the best blocking tight end and slash an offensive weapon in George Kittle. A pretty good line, a future Hall of Famer at left tackle.
Mm-hmm.
If there's a team, and Kyle Shanahan, if there's a team that could do this, get this done, I think it's the Niners. But I still think, dude, this is gonna be a tall order. I don't know if the Seahawks have enough to jump the Niners in the division right now, but it's gonna definitely be a test for them. And ultimately, I think they got to side with Trey Lance in the long term. To answer your first question.
I agree. I think it's going to be Trey. They got to give him a chance, especially when you spend all that collateral to get him. I know a team that they definitely were a person they were definitely looking for, I should say, but the way that the claims were set up did not fall anywhere near them. And I think the Rams just did this out of spite.
Oh, totally.
We're talking about Baker Mayfield being cut by the Panthers on Monday, claimed by the Rams on Tuesday, who were way ahead of the Niners in the claim. I know they 100% knew that the Niners needed their rival. So they're like, okay, well, you're probably going to look at him because he was a starting quarterback. Let's just pick him up to have him essentially sit on our bench to do nothing. We're just going to do this so you guys don't have it because we don't want to see you win. I thought that was super interesting. There's no way that that's not the case. Like, I just feel like they're just straight Petty Hardaways over here. So, yeah.
Petty Hardaway. Totally, dude. This was Les Snead saying, we're not just going to let this happen. We will eat the rest of this contract. And I think it's just this year. So, like, he's a free agent at the end of the year. I'm sure he'll get into games at some point, especially just with Bryce Perkins and John Wolford on the depth chart ahead of him. Be interesting to see what Sean McVay can do with Baker Mayfield. But this is just going to be Baker's future, man. And you called it from our first episode. We've not been very high on Baker. You've never shied away from the criticism there, and I think this is just who he is. Richard Sherman had some interesting things to say, and totally agree with him. Like, these quarterbacks are getting way too many chances because they were first picks, and the ceiling is quote unquote high.
Look at Carson.
I think, yeah. So, yeah, this was totally a spite move by the Rams. I love it. But as we'll see if Brock Purdy's the answer there. Who knows? Maybe he's the next Tom Brady, and maybe he's just irrelevant, and that'll just be something to look out for. But if you're a 49ers fan, you can't be feeling really good. And if you're a Rams fan, at least there is a little bit of light because you screwed over the Niners. Other news about getting screwed over, it looks like the Titans fired their GM today, John Robinson. He was let go despite he signed an extension, Hayes, in February. The team's 7-5. They own the AFC South. They were the 1 seed last year. They're on track to make the playoffs for the 4th year in a row, the 5th time in 6 seasons. And Robinson gets the can. Essentially, from what I read, it just sounds like they're not thrilled with like how this roster is projecting. And it might have something to do with maybe just giving AJ Brown away to your your Eagles there. But dude, what a mess. I'm sure Mike Vrabel's gonna get more control of roster decisions and this team. And he's pretty good at what he does, but how would you fix these Titans if long term here? You got Tannehill on an old deal, Henry's getting older every carry he takes. No, aside from Treylon Burks, you have no offensive weapons, receivers.
So I start with quarterback. I don't mind Tannehill, but I don't like Tannehill's game, and I think that's a major part of them not being able to win, because Tannehill's just, to me, he's not that guy that can go out and get you a win. Like, he's that guy. He's that game manager. Like what we've talked about with people talk about Jimmy G. Jimmy G's actually been to a Super Bowl, right? Like, he's a game manager, but he's actually been to a Super Bowl. Yes. Is he on a better team? Yes, this is accurate, right? But he still was able to do enough to get his team to that next spot, right?
Game managers win Super Bowls.
Of course they do.
Trent Dilfer.
Yes, of course. So in that aspect, I think that's the first place they need to do. And I know they have Malik there, and I pray he's going to be the future there, because it would just be super cool. But I think that's where they got to start first. They need to get wideouts. They had one of the best wideouts, and they let it walk out the door, which I was saying to Sam earlier off air. I believe that I don't think that's just on the GM. Like, the owner probably had to sign off on one of his higher profile guys is walking out the door because he was looking to get a big contract. That has to be okay by the owner too, to pay that as well. Am I right or wrong in saying that?
No, I'd have to imagine that,
right?
No GM has full autonomy.
Correct. Right.
So
if that's the case, then the owner's not going to take blame for this. So somebody's got to take the blame for this instead. We just watched that former guy run all over us and laugh at us, and now we got to do something about it.
I know nothing about the Titans ownership front office. I don't know who the owner is. I don't know how hands-on or hands-off he is, but I would imagine that this guy, John Robinson, is in charge of personnel.
Yeah.
And he said, quote unquote, owner, here you go. This is the situation. We can get a draft pick right now for AJ Brown. We don't have to pay him $20 million a year. Treylon Burks is there. He will succeed in this offense. We can win despite AJ Brown. We had AJ and Julio last year, and it didn't quite work out.
Sure didn't.
We can win without AJ Brown. And even though the owner signed off on it, it's kind of like, and the owner made the decision. He made the decision because the GM said, this is a situation. This is what we can do. I say we do this. So it's kind of like he approved it, but it's also can be like, this is your ass if this doesn't work.
Well,
it
was his ass.
If that's the reason. I'm just speculating. We were talking all draft night, especially around when you guys took Jordan Davis and then you later traded for this pick, or traded away this pick to the Titans. He gave him away. The Eagles stole AJ Brown.
Well, I mean, I'm not upset about it. So
I'm not upset for you either. I'm just saying.
I'm not going to say. I'm going to say, hey, thank you, John Robinson. I might start a GoFundMe for you, and say thank you while you are sitting unemployed, which I'm sure you'll probably be right back somewhere else. So thank you, especially for building a team like that.
Speaking of, well, I guess he wasn't unemployed, but he was sitting on his butt on the couch playing
Yeah.
PS5 or
Mhm.
something. Deshaun Watson saw his first action in over 700 days on Sunday, and I think it's fair to say, Hayes, he laid an egg. I thought he was going to start. You didn't think he was even going to start, and in hindsight, maybe Jacoby Brissett
Should have started.
should have started, but the Browns beat the worst team in football, the first team to be eliminated uh first in back-to-back years, the Houston Texans there. Um Not first, but in back-to-back years they were eliminated. They still won 27-14, but it was really the Browns defense that carried the way.
Mhm.
With Deshaun's back, he had his accusers in the building. They're they were in Houston. The wasn't an ovation, but the boos were shaking the
Super
stadium
prevalent.
there.
Yep. Hmm.
Yeah, they were there. What do real quick, the Deshaun Watson experience so far? What do you
I,
think? What do you
I, I mean, just like last week, I told you that I didn't even think he should start. And this is exactly why I didn't think he should start. They scored no touchdowns on offense. All the touchdowns came from literally the defense, period. That's all it came from. Nothing offensively, but that's to be expected. He hasn't played in 700 days. He's not like you can just walk into the NFL and just start dropping dimes. That's not how it works. You have to get up to game speed and stuff like that. So, I mean, he's gonna have some time to do that. I'd say probably by his third game under his belt, he'll have game speed under there and conditioning to that point. So I mean, he could still be the Deshaun that we knew and saw how he could spin the pigskin, and I think he could be there. But that's we'll see. We'll see. Another person that I don't know what they're going to be, but apparently visited the Cowboys on Monday and then went to the Mavericks game after with Diggs and Micah Parsons is OBJ. The question I have is the deal done, but I've now heard the speculation from Jerry, who was originally all on board for him, now saying that they don't know what's going to go on with his ACL, which this is the whole thing. It's the same knee that he injured before. So of course we don't know what Odell we're getting, and now you're saying you don't know. What do you think happens? Does he sign with them? What do you think is going to happen going forward?
Well, yeah, I saw that backtracking from the aforementioned Jerry Jones.
Mm-hmm.
I heard it earlier. Maybe it was on that same radio interview that I was referencing earlier, but um I think they sign him. They probably either don't want to pay him or they just saw his medicals and they just don't think he's ready. Basically, Jerry said, I'm paraphrasing here because I don't ever really want to say align myself with Jerry Jones, but he's basically saying if he's healthy, we'll sign him. If he's ready to play, we'll sign him. I read something. I saw a notification today that he might not be ready till January.
Yeah, and I'm
And
sure
that,
they don't want to. They don't want him if that's the case.
yeah, and that this offense hasn't skipped a beat once Dak got up to speed
Yep.
and got comfortable. And the running game has Zeke is looking like rookie sophomore year Zeke. Tony Pollard is just a breath of fresh air in that backfield. CeeDee Lamb, Dalton Schultz,
Well, if
even
I'm
Michael
Gallup,
Gallup too,
in a
who's
situation,
taking a
I'd be
spot.
pissed off about all this because you're
Yeah,
all talking about Odell, and I'm out here came back from injury, and I'm out here balling. Like,
yeah, and
what are
that
you
that was
talking
my
about?
last. That was exactly my last point. Like Michael Gallup's no chump either. Like he's making plays when it counts, and would Odell help this team? I think Odell would help any team. A healthy Odell Beckham, but we don't know what he's going to get. I think he's playing this smart. His agent's playing it smart to sign as quickly as possible, and you can see my medicals later kind of thing. But I
I mean,
think he'll eventually be a Cowboy, but I have no idea when.
he's the prettiest girl in school, and everybody wants to take her to prom. So this is what's happening right now. They're looking. He's just
Yeah,
out here, just picking and choosing from that point. That's it.
especially when there's no the trade deadline's passed and you really can't, unless someone gets cut, as we just saw with Baker, you're not making any moves. So yeah. Honorary Do You Care? I may have mentioned at the top we have a special NBA edition of Do You Care, but honorary Do You Care, Hayes, on the All Things Covered podcast, which is Patrick Peterson, the Vikings cornerback, and his cousin
Pat
Bryant
P.
McFadden. Yeah. Brian McFadden, formerly of the Steelers, they have a podcast. And basically, Pat P said of his former quarterback, Kyler Murray doesn't care about nobody but Kyler Murray. Kyler, came back and said, basically, is this what a mentor does? Is this what a big bro does? Kind of thing. Eh, Peterson backtracked a little bit, but then you saw like when the Vikings played the Cardinals earlier in the year, there was a whole celebration in the end zone where Peterson's like pretending to play video games and kind of thing. An obvious shot at Kyler. What do you care about these comments?
Of course, I care because I mean it's a former teammate that what your former teammates do. You're around them, and Patrick P was in on the Cardinals, started his whole career there, so he knows those players in that building probably better than anybody else outside of that locker room. So I do care, but I also don't care to this extent. Of course, Kyler is only cares about Kyler. This most players that are as highly touted as him and touted as him is that they go through life on this pedestal and they don't really think about anybody else except them damn selves. I mean, do you think that the likes of Aaron Rodgers, who was balling out in Cal, like he wasn't being glorified and held on a pedestal? I mean, look at Johnny Manziel. He could do no wrong before he came out of college, right? He was the man. He was out here partying with Drake, doing all this stuff like that. Of course he cared about himself. He didn't care about anything else. He's out here getting his money. These kids are young. Like this, they don't really mature into whatever age it is, but of course he's going to care about himself because that's all he knows. And when people cater to him, if it ain't broke, don't fix it type of mentality. So, I mean, it kind of is what it is, Sam. I'm 50-50 about it.
I got distracted because Bleacher Report sent out a thing that said Aaron Judge signed with the Giants. And then this is based on a tweet from John Heyman of the New York Post. And then John Heyman just walked it back. He deleted the tweet. He said, sorry, Giants have not heard on Aaron Judge. My apologies for jumping the gun. So you just gave me a heart attack and I missed like half of the crap you just said, Brandon. I'm sure it was great and I'm sure I agree with you. But Aaron Judge, we'll get to in a second, is, I can't take it anymore. I know my fellow Yankee fans out there agree with me. But whatever you said, Hayes, I'm sure it was great.
Thanks, Sam. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you know me, man.
Week 14 picks. Let's go.
Let's do it, man. Pretty certainly not the lineup, the schedule we saw last week. A great week of games, man. The Bengals taking care of the Chiefs, Jets almost beating the Vikings if Braxton Berrios could catch passes. Great. The Colts just getting annihilated by the Cowboys. There's a lot going on. You'll cover it with your rankings here, but not as appealing this week. A little more chalk as far as you and I picking these games. So let's just jump at it here. Looks like Thursday Night Football on Amazon Prime. The Las Vegas Raiders are in LA to play the Rams. We both have the Raiders there. No surprise there. Raiders, since Derek Carr started crying post game, they've put together some wins. Josh Jacobs, Devontae Adams are balling. So I'm sure that's why we both have the Raiders here. Here's where we differ. Ravens at Steelers. I like Tyler Huntley. He certainly knows this offense and can play, but I'm picking the Steelers here.
Huntley is the reason why they win. Ravens.
There you go. Vikings at the Lions. We're both picking the Vikings here. Disclaimer, we still both really like this Lions team. Hopefully Jamison Williams can get on the field this week. Jaguars at the Titans. I have the Jags. You have the Titans. Discuss.
Titans aren't going to lose 2 back-to-back and then not win against the Jags. Titans win. And Derrick Henry is not going to go only go rush for 30 yards. So Titans.
Fair. I just like the Jaguars. And your boy Doug Peterson. Eagles at the Giants in the Meadowlands here. We both have the Eagles. I don't need to ask you why you have the Eagles, but
go Birds.
Hey man, they're the best team in football, 11-1. Beat you a billion different ways. Jets at the Bills. You gave me some crap for not taking the Jets last week. I almost texted you a billion times saying I got these Jets, and they started the game slow, and then I thought they were going to win, and they didn't. But it's hard to play in Buffalo, and that's why I have the Bills. I'm sure that's why you do too. Browns at the Bengals. We both have the Bengals. Texans at the Cowboys. Both have the Cowboys. Chiefs at the Broncos. We're both going Kansas City here. Panthers at the Seahawks. Go Seattle. Both have Seattle with that one. Sunday Night Football. I'm really excited for this game. Dolphins at the Chargers. I almost picked the Chargers, and then I realized Brandon Staley in primetime games, especially, doesn't fare well. So I'm going Dolphins with this one, even though they lost last week.
If they don't call for his head after the season, I'm going to be highly disappointed because he is. You got rid of who's my guy before there? Was it Joseph?
Vance. No, Vance Joseph was the Broncos coach.
No. I'll remember what it is. But you got rid of my man, and he was doing fine, and then all of a sudden they get Brandon Staley, and then he does this with it. So, yeah, I could care less about the Chargers. Their defense is already hurt. So, yeah.
Anthony Lynn.
Thank you.
Thank you to Google machine. Monday Night Football. Patriots at the Cardinals. I have the Patriots, even though they did not look good on Thursday against the Bills, and Bill Belichick had enough. But I'm going Patriots on Monday night.
There's no special Call of Duty event this weekend, so Cardinals.
You would know, yeah. Thank you for keeping the people updated.
Yeah,
that
no problem.
Hey, Hayes, it's time.
A
lot of movement, a lot of shaking. It's your top 10 through week 13. Who you got? Number 10.
Number 10 is the Ravens. And that's because they lost Lamar, and that's huge. I think Huntley can help them navigate through this time without Lamar, but Lamar is a completely different type of talent. But I have faith in Huntley. They still just have a good team, and adding Roquan Smith, it shores up that defense a little bit, but we'll see. They're the super wishy-washy team. Number 9, Titans. They just lost to my boys. But I still think they have a lot of talent. And as Sam mentioned earlier, with Mike Vrabel as their coach, this is their time of the year. This is when they normally turn things up and turn it up a notch. Tannehill just came back from injury last week. He's not still fully there with his ankle, not really able to have that mobility. But when he brings that back, I'm sure they will elevate their offense to a different level. 8, the Dolphins. They are. If this is your first time listening to the podcast, this is my father's favorite team, and I'm glad he gets to actually watch them do pretty well this year. They've had a up and down season for me, even though they're still winning with Tua and they're doing certain things. It's just I'm waiting for them to start dominate teams, and they just haven't turned that corner for me. But when they do, everybody should be scared. At number 7, the Niners, they might drop down to where the Ravens are next week, depending on what happens with their new quarterback, new QB1. But they still have a solid offense, solid defense. They just need somebody to be able to manage the game for them. At 6, the Vikings, they're still 10-2, but for me, they're the most unreliable team to me with a high record such as this. They've only had lost 2 games, and both of the games that they lost were destroyed by 2 emphasis on the 2 elite teams in this league, and that was the Cowboys and the Eagles, and they both destroyed them and made Justin Jefferson non-existent, which is crazy to say because that is an extremely hard feat. At 5, the Bills, 9-3. Bills also have had an up and down year. Again, this is me saying this with them having a 9-3 record. Josh Allen from week to week, yes, he still has the ability to make every throw and do things, but he sometimes makes some really bonehead decisions and puts his team in predicaments. And sometimes the team doesn't show up when they really need to. At 4, the Chiefs, they dropped down because they lost to the Bengals, who are at number 3. They lost to them. The Bengals seem to have their number. And they just can't get over the hump of beating the Bengals. But the Chiefs are still going to be around. They're still going to be there, and they still are top 3 So it's these three teams in a row. The next being the Bengals with Joe Burrow and this team. They were nowhere near my top 10 for quite some time, but they are now getting healthier. Their weapons are getting sharper. Joe Burrow is still showing people why he is Joe Burrow and he can make every single throw. And this kid is just Joe Cool for real. Thorough Burrow, as Dame would say, he's that dude. At two, the Cowboys. The Cowboys continue to win with Dak. They just keep winning 9-3. They beat the Colts. Now, I just want to be very, very clear about that Colts win because I've watched a lot of Cowboy slander talking to the Eagles directly, which is funny to me, saying this is how you beat the Colts. Last I checked, going all the way into the third quarter, it was pretty close. It was only separated by 1 point. I genuinely feel that the Colts just blew the game themselves, but the Cowboys capitalized on that, and they deserve that. A win is a win, and you put up those points. You put up those points. The Cowboys aren't any slouches. They are going to continue to put numbers up on teams as they, I believe, are still the number one scoring offense in the NFL to this day. But number one is the team that beat them. The team that keeps beating everybody except for the Commanders, the one time, the 11-1 Eagles. What they've shown, as Sam has alluded to earlier, they can beat you in multiple ways, and they continue to do that. The week before, they were able to rush. This week, they were able to pass with Jalen doing no rushing. They were able to beat you with their defensive line, where the past couple weeks weren't able to stop the run whatsoever, and they stopped Derrick Henry and only let him rush for 30 yards, which is extremely hard to say. And Sam, I want you to really think about the running backs that they just faced and what they're going to continue to face this week. So they faced Derrick Henry this past week. The week prior to that, who's the running back for the Colts?
Jonathan Taylor.
Who did they face the week before that?
Derrick Henry?
No, they just faced Derrick Henry. I'm trying to remember who the Eagles played the week before that.
Was that when they lost to the Commanders?
No, it was. Hold on, I'll tell you right now because I'm losing the Packers. So they had Aaron Jones, right? Yeah. So they keep facing these crazy running backs. And Aaron Jones was actually last week, and then before that was Jonathan Taylor. But now they get to face Saquon, so they have another test against their run game. So I don't want to hear it. They just keep putting up numbers, and I'm just very proud of them. But they round out.
Jordan Davis gets healthy, man.
He's back.
Oh, he is?
Yeah, he played.
Mm-hmm. He played?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh. This is why you're talk about the Eagles. Hey, man, when Jordan Davis gets healthy, man, it's over. Yeah, so that was your top 10. A lot of movement there.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting that the Bills won. They slide up only one spot, and they're the number one seed now in the AFC.
Yeah. I still don't have any faith in them. They had the opportunity. They came into this season with the Bills. That's all you heard the offseason. The Bills are this team. They were going to be that team to beat. And I just think I'm going to be a prisoner of the moment and openly say that and be open and honest is I thought they were going to take that crown, and they have not proven that and have not stepped up to be like, hey, we're better than the Chiefs. We're better than the Bengals. And those teams seem to be fighting for being the best in that division, even though they currently have that number one seed.
Crushing it.
Thanks.
Great job. That was your power rankings. You could check them out on our Instagram page. They'll be posted tomorrow at Chasing Points Podcast. Thank you for the follow in advance. Hey, that was the pros wasn't the only football going on this past weekend. I hear it from friends of the pod that we talk too much NFL, not enough college.
Brandon also
Here we
said
are.
That.
What? Huh?
Nothing. Brandon also said that.
Brandon helps make the rundown. Hey, the college football playoffs was announced on Sunday afternoon. It goes as follows: Georgia 1, Michigan 2, TCU 3, and the Ohio State University 4. Hayes on the outside looking in. Bama 5, Tennessee 6. Did the playoff committee get this right?
Yep. And I know a lot of people are crying over Bama because they're used to seeing Bama in this because they've always been in this. But who has Bama beat? Who has Bama beat? That is literally a top tier team. Michigan has beat Ohio State. They beat Penn State. TCU beat, I think, is K State, who Bama is now playing. Ohio State beat Penn State. I'm trying to think of who the other team that they beat too. That was a ranked team. And Georgia has just been demolishing everybody. So, and then they got it right to me. They absolutely got it right to me. I'm okay with not seeing Bama there. I'm not a fan of Bama. Just some players are coming out of there.
I think it had to be a hard decision for
I'm
them,
sure.
especially ratings wise, TV
sure.
rating wise, having Bama in there instead of, I think the obvious one out in this situation, just talking about ratings, would be TCU. But, I still don't. I think they got it right, but I think there was probably a lot of consideration for Alabama and a 2-loss SEC team, playing that schedule, playing where they are. I think that holds a little more water than a team like TCU only losing one game.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, ultimately I'm fine with it. It's set up as the Fiesta Bowl will be New Year's Eve afternoon, Michigan at TCU. The Peach Bowl that night, New Year's Eve night, around 8:00 Eastern, Georgia, Ohio State. And the title game, obviously Monday, January 9th. No surprise here. Michigan 7.5-point favorite, Georgia 6.5 points. I took that from Caesars Sportsbook tonight, so that may change. But Georgia is now the 4th different team to enter the playoff as the number 1 seed, and it has been around that long, maybe 8-9 years. The playoffs been around, and the first college football playoff without Bama or Clemson. So
Clemson sucks right now.
Speaking of Clemson, other New Year's Eve bowl games, December 30th, Tennessee, Clemson. Then we have the Sugar Bowl, as you just mentioned, Bama, Kansas State. That's New Year's Eve at noon. Cotton Bowl, January 2nd in the afternoon, USC, Tulane, and the Rose Bowl, the granddaddy of them all. Your Penn State Nittany Lions, 11th ranked Nittany Lions against the Utes, the Utah Utes, and the Rose Bowl. That's gonna be a good game.
It is. I actually thought about going with a buddy because thought about that. I do spur of the moment type travel, so we'll see. We'll see how rent looks. We'll see.
Heard that. Yeah, I have one of my best friends is getting married New Year's Eve, so he will probably have the ESPN app on as well, but we'll
Smart
be
man.
watching those games. Yeah, man. Speaking of smart men, talented men, Hall of Fame men, Coach Prime, Deion Sanders,
My guy.
told his Jackson State team after they won their 2nd straight Southwestern Athletic Conference title that he's headed to Colorado. Over the last 3 years at Jackson State, he went 27-5. He said he's bringing baggage with him, and it's really good baggage, like Louis.
It's Louis.
And
I'm bringing baggage, and it's Louis.
And the big news from Prime, recruiting wise, last year he was able to get a number of highly touted recruits, including Travis Hunter, who was the number 1 rated recruit in the 2022 class, defensive back. And Hunter's going with him to Colorado, it sounds like. So I'm sure recruiting is going to increase and be a little more desirable now that Prime Time is in Colorado. What do you think of the move? And
well, I'm gonna start with the negative slander for him and the things I've been hearing about. Why is he leaving HBCU and going to Colorado and blah blah blah? Is first off, Prime is going to be elite no matter where he goes, because that's just who he is. He's an elite individual, and he expects nothing but greatness. What he did for Jackson State was great. But I don't think people really understand how popular HBCUs are in general. It's just he brought a different light to it because of his celebrity. And I'm very, very thankful that he was able to do that and recruit the way he was and get some of these young cats to come there to HBCU and still ball out. So I absolutely love that. I wish he would stay, but I also wish there was more funding for HBCUs. But I'm also on the same side of that coin, I guess, or the opposite side of the coin, I should say. I'm happy that he's going to Colorado because he's not just going to a team that is winning because Colorado only won one game this year. So he's going to a team that doesn't have a winning history. Last I checked, I don't remember Colorado being anybody's place or destination to go as a top recruit, period. So he can turn that around and get an opportunity to propel himself to the next level. And I'm rooting for him because there's not many people in all of football that look like him or I in these top positions. And if he can get up there, if anybody that I think could get up there, it's him. So 100% in Prime's corner. What he does for these kids, what he teaches these kids, and how he speaks to these kids, he creates winners on and off the field, and I absolutely love that about him. So, Prime
Yeah,
for sure.
he certainly has his work cut out for him, but he
Absolutely.
was pretty candid. I watched his speech to both to his former team and to his new team, and he's basically like to the new guys, like transfer portal is going to be full. Like you show up and play. It's so no doubt, certainly the arrow's pointing up for this program, and hopefully that works.
Yeah, I'm going to say
Yeah.
this real quick to that point of the transfer portal thing, because I saw a lot of sensitive people talking about this, and it really, really irked me and let me know who's actually been in a locker room for any sport when a coach talks and says real things. When he said that thing about the portal, he basically said, you have an opportunity to leave.
Yeah.
If you don't want to be here, don't be here. Like, leave now. Because if you're going to be here, you're going to have to work. And there's going to be other people that are going to come in here and they're going to make you work because they're going to try to take that spot. Everything was handed to you. He literally said, basically, things were handed to you throughout your whole life at this point in time. That's done here. Like, you're going to have to earn everything here. And yes, his son is coming there, but guess what? He's still going to make his son earn that spot too, because he doesn't play that. You got to earn your spot. So I love that. We need more people like that in sports and in life that will push you out of your comfort zone, which is when great things actually happen.
Yeah, no, dude, you're absolutely right, and I'm excited to see this this program evolve and next step. And as you mentioned just before, put it on the map in a way. Like, just always liked Prime Time. I'm interested to see where this goes, and I think he's certainly a heck of a coach there. Real quick, the Heisman Trophy finalists were announced, I think yesterday, Monday. Real quick, Stetson Bennett, quarterback from Georgia. These are all quarterbacks. Max Duggan from TCU, CJ Stroud of OSU, and speaking of transfer portals, former Oklahoma quarterback and now USC quarterback Caleb Williams. I don't really have a strong feeling on who's going to hoist the Heisman on Saturday night, but
it should be Caleb. But I think it might be Stetson because his team has been the number one team wire to wire. So it might be him, and they just keep balling and continuing off of what he did last year.
Yeah,
so it might be him, but I'm Caleb for sure.
Yeah, I think, if you're looking at the future, certainly as far as prospects, Caleb and Stroud certainly jump out at the top there of NFL prospects, and Stroud could be a top 10 pick this year, and I'm sure Caleb Williams is ready for the year after to make the jump there. I mentioned we're changing gears here to the Major League Baseball. I mentioned the heart attack I had while we were doing Do You Care, or that quick Do You Care, but the Giants allegedly offered Aaron Judge $360 million. John Heyman said that the Yankees are still believed to be the favorite to sign this year's MVP. Judge was in Tampa last night, Monday Night Football, which Raymond James Stadium is right across the street from the Yankees complex there. Dapped up, had a conversation with Tom Brady. Tom Brady tried to recruit him to play tight end. He's 6'7". He was a stud tight end in high school. I'm sure he could play tight end in the National Football League, no doubt.
I'm sure he could.
You have a indication on what Judge is going to do? Because I have famously all summer long I've said he's leaving, he's leaving. I'm scared he's leaving. And I've changed my tune the last couple weeks. And now I'm nervous as hell again, dude. I have no idea anymore, but I'm scared.
I don't think anybody does outside of him, to be honest. I think probably the only two people in the world that know what he wants to do next is his wife and him.
Yeah.
That's probably it. And, good for him either way. If he doesn't stay with the Yankees, good. And I hope that wakes up Brian Cashman and wakes up other GMs that says, when you have something right there in front of you, you go out and get it. The bad side is that I wouldn't be able to go down to the Bronx and see him play on a regular basis or turn on Yes and watch him play. And I'd have to know that he plays back in his home state for another team, providing the power that he can. But I'll say that I think he stays with the Yankees, because why go to the Giants where you're a power hitter and that ballpark is extremely hard to hit the ball out of. So I mean, I guess we'll see. I mean,
for a righty, yeah.
Yes. So I guess we'll just see what happens. I mean, I'm not trying to think about it too much because I don't want to get myself worked up, Sam.
Michael Kay, this is from Bleacher Report, but Michael Kay had got a tweet or a text from someone close to the Yankees saying the Yankees are still in play for Judge.
Yep.
It just came across my phone there. So yeah, who knows, man? I am really nervous, but I think the situation, Brian Cashman, I've read a lot of things about this, and mainly that Hal wants Aaron Judge at all costs. No, he just wants Aaron Judge, and Cashman is being more realistic about it in the sense of
and they should have paid him when they had the chance to do it. God damn it.
And I think this is the reason that they are shying away, is when you get a contract like the Rangers gave to Jacob deGrom on Friday, where they gave the off-injured deGrom, who's 34, a 5-year, $185 million deal with a 6-year that would equal $222 million. When you're the Rangers, you got to pay people like that. And, the Mets didn't counter and went ahead and signed Justin Verlander. But, this is kind of a risky move that the Rangers kind of needed to make, because how else are you going to get pitching down there? They shelled out a lot of cash for Corey Seager, Marcus Semien last offseason. But, they also historically trade away dudes like this when they, the bills start coming in. This happened with A-Rod, Josh Hamilton. It certainly happens in Texas, but I just mentioned Verlander going to the Mets now, 2 years, $86 million, 3rd-year option there. Verlander's 40. Who would you rather want on your salary cap, Hayes?
Meaning Verlander or Jacob deGrom?
Yeah, with these deals, 5 years, 185 for deGrom, 2 years, 86 million for Verlander, 6 years older.
I mean, I would definitely go deGrom. deGrom is a once in a generational type guy, and he's built such a legacy with the Mets. But I understand why the Mets may have not done this, and the only reason I can think that they didn't do this is because of his injury history. He's injury prone, and with Verlander, you're gonna have him for two years, max 3 years, and he still is dealing this year. You know what I mean? So, and you're getting him for a tax break, so it's just like you're saving a little money here. But what are you doing with that money that you're saving? Are you going to go out and get other people, which I'm sure the Mets will? I'm sure they're probably going to try to get somebody else to fill in that spot. So we'll see, I guess.
Yeah, I think I'd rather have Verlander at these costs here. Certainly, I mean, deGrom was a pitcher of generation, really. I mean, when 2 Cy Young awards when he's healthy, when he was on. He was, the best in the league. So they'll certainly miss him in Flushing, but it's a lot of money to give someone who can't stay healthy. And I think, I think the Rangers will probably come to regret this move, but I totally understand why they did it. I have a lot of friends that are Mets fans that are okay with it, especially with the consolation prize, quote unquote, of Justin Verlander. So we'll see there. And speaking of big moves, 11 years, $300 million for Trey Turner to head to Philly. This Philly offense is ridiculous.
Stacked. Yeah, stacked.
Real Muto, Bryce Harper, Trey Turner, Castellanos, Kyle Schwarber, probably like Bryson Stott's going to play second base. Reese Hoskins playing first base. Like, this is nuts, dude.
Shout out to Philly fans in general.
Yeah.
You have the Phillies, you have the Eagles, and you have the Sixers. Your teams are running on high right now. I don't even know what the Flyers are doing right now. Maybe you can tell me. I don't know. But yeah, they're running high right now.
In my last MLB update here is for the New York Yankees. Read the room, guys. The Trey Turner deal got announced. The Verlander deal got announced. A couple hours later, the Yankees announced that they re-signed general manager and senior vice president Brian Cashman to a 4-year deal through 2026. I like Cashman. I'm fine that he's back. I feel like I'm on an island with this, but like he's basically been working without a contract. We know this at this point. It'd be news if they let him go. But if I'm Hal, I wouldn't sign him unless you guaranteed that Judge was back. You want to get signed, Cash? Like, bring Judge back.
Yeah, exactly.
So
that would have been my moment right there for you. We'll bring you back. You bring him back. How about that?
There you go. But that was our MLB update. That's it. That's all we got. Winter meetings going on now in San Diego. But
NBA.
Here we go. Do you care edition for the NBA? Because we haven't spent enough time. And last week I told you on this podcast I need to watch more basketball, and I did. Ready?
Wow.
The Celtics are 20-5. Do you care?
Yeah, they're really, really good, even without Ime Udoka. They're
which
still
is wild.
They're just a really well built team. Is Brad Stevens couldn't get it done. Ime got them to the NBA Finals. They are just a well put together team, and that's because of Tatum. Yep. But the way that Jaylen Brown is also stepped up as well too, and they have been able to play off of each other and alongside of each other. Yeah, it's really, really hard to stop those two alone, and they're really young, so you got to be concerned about them. Yeah, I do care. They're a very, very tough team.
Yeah, you think they're the team to beat? Certainly in the East.
In the East right now, yes. I don't know if they're the team to beat overall, but currently, if the league were to stop today, which it doesn't, they would be a hard out by anybody, and I think they're going to give a lot of people the business.
Yeah, I care too. Really like this team. Tatum's playing. I didn't think it could get better. It did, even though he, had moments in the finals where he, disappeared. But and I'm sure that has been on his mind all off season too, because we're not the only people saying that. But I like the Celtics team. They're definitely going to be a hard out, as you mentioned. Speaking of a team that we thought was just dead 2 weeks ago, the Lakers have won 8 of their last 10 games. Plain clothes, as you like to call them.
Mm-hmm.
In that span, Anthony Davis, 35 points a game, almost 16 rebounds a game, almost 3 blocks a game. And on Sunday, he dropped 55 and 17 boards. The first 50-15 game from 70% from the field since Wilt in 1969. 2-part question. Do you care? And are the Lakers back?
I don't care, and here's why. Mr. Plain Clothes, Mr. Street Clothes, Mr. Glass, Anthony Davis is balling out of his mind, and he should have been doing this because that was the whole reason they went and got him. He was supposed to steer the ship while LeBron just coasted and did his thing on the side along with it. Think about how scary that is. LeBron coasting on the side doing his thing, and AD doing what he's doing right now, carrying the team. See, but the thing is, I just mentioned one of his nicknames is Mr. Glass. He's bound to get hurt. I'm not praying for him to get hurt. I don't want him to get hurt. The league is better when he's playing, but he is susceptible to injury. And I don't want to say it's going to happen, but his track record shows it's bound to happen. I hope he doesn't get hurt. I hope he stays there. I hope he keeps balling out, getting 55 points and doing his damn thing, because this would mean the Lakers are back. But Sam, until I see him there for an extended period of time with nothing, no back, nothing like that, not a wince or anything, then I will say the Lakers are back. But in the last 8 games, they have shown that they can win games for sure.
I care. I agree with you. The league's better when AD is healthy, when the Lakers are playing well. This is why the Lakers mortgaged their future for Anthony Davis to basically be not the facilitator, but the end result, right? Like to be the point scorer, to be the dominant guy that he can be, and to have LeBron just facilitate the ball and beat the coverage that he has and still be LeBron, because LeBron is still playing well at 37, 38 years old. So hopefully he can stay healthy. He does not have a good track record of doing so. But this is certainly, you got to feel a lot better if you're the Lakers, especially how Russ has adapted to playing off the bench and scoring, running the second team. He's played really well. He's like leading the team in assists. Like he's playing how he should. Shockingly, yeah.
Shocker. You mean he's leading the team in assists? You mean the guy that averaged a triple-double? Shocker. That he could score off of the bench, or he can score and allow him to be him. And this is what's happening. They're finally allowing him to be him, and they should have just put him on a second unit a long time ago, and this is what they would have gotten.
Is this an indictment on Frank Vogel? Certainly he's not there anymore, but
I'd say so, but I think Frank lost the team anyway. Like, I think it just wasn't it, and they were looking for something else. And when you try to, it's that whole logic that I have is when you try to make the players fit into the way that you want them to play into your system, instead of adapting to the players that you have and creating a system around them. Teams do better when you create around the personnel that you have and highlight their attributes instead of highlighting the parts of them that are frowned upon, that are not elevated or whatnot. Like you can't. They expected so much from Russ. They expected things from Russ that he's not. We've seen who Russ is. Allow Russ to be Russ, right? That's the real Russ that needs to be cooking. Forget the other one. He's out there riding on some type of Bronco or something.
Okay. Speaking of guys, though, that can't stay healthy, Kawhi. The team's 4-0 when he starts. They're 10-11 otherwise. But as a starter this year, only 8 points a game, 4 assists a game, and 2 rebounds. Do you care?
Yeah, I do care, because when he's playing, he's such a great player. But the question is, when is he playing? So I think that's going to be a detriment to his career. Is him taking advantage of these resting games, or these DMPs for rest, and then not disclosing injuries and just hearing the rumors of him not wanting to play. And he just seems like, even though he's quiet to everybody else, everything that I've heard about a very quiet person has not been the greatest, which says a lot to me. So I'd like to see Kawhi out there, and because the Clippers should be running away with the West if he actually was playing, but he's not that well. So, yeah.
Speaking of not playing well, despite dropping 21 points, James Harden returned to Houston, only went 4 of 19 from the field. The 76ers lost in double OT the other day. James Harden's back in Houston. Do you care? Or playing in Houston?
I don't care.
Just put this in there so we could roast James Harden. That's all.
I don't care that he's back in Houston. I do care that he's back playing, but his game is not the same game that it once was. And that's unfortunate because he is a top talent. But it kind of is what it is. By the way, Cody Bellinger is to the Cubs. But James Harden is, I know they invested money in this man to get them to that next part, but I would be focusing on Maxey. That's who I would focus on, because him with Embiid, that's the duo to worry about on that team. I make sure I keep him at all costs. So I think James can be an asset for this team going forward, because he definitely obviously can still get buckets, but he's not the James Harden of old, and he hasn't been the same since that hamstring injury when he was in Brooklyn.
Yeah, that's saying something too. But if he can, I mean, it sounded like last season or in the off season, he's committed to, the new James Harden playing. He's certainly not the same scorer that he was in his prime, but he can still get it done. Even though he was 4 for 19 from the field. So still got it done, but it's certainly not efficient. And he certainly can't take as many shots as he used to, especially with Embiid and Maxey and the supporting cast there. But yeah, I don't care. You didn't ask me, but I don't care. Yeah. Last, I'm sure you'll cover this and have been covering this on your other podcast, For the Love of Hype. Check it out wherever you listen to this podcast. Nike officially terminates the partnership with Kyrie Irving. I guess we touched on it at the top of the show, and we've certainly been involved in the whole Kyrie saga, not only this past one, but just over the last couple of years. But Nike officially ending ways with Kyrie. Phil Knight essentially alluded to this weeks ago, but it's a done deal. Do you care?
Absolutely. It's said that it's a mutual parting of ways. But he had one of the top sneaker lines in Nike, period. Definitely one of the two highest selling in basketball for players that are still playing, meaning out of him and KD essentially. I think Nike, it made it easier for Nike to do this. I before the anti-Semitic conversation, Kyrie has been having an up and down relationship with Nike in the past couple of years.
Yeah,
anyway.
This is nothing new.
Well, I'm saying this for the people that don't know.
Yeah.
Or don't care about the sneaker world like I do, but this has been an ongoing type of battle thing because of not knowing what Kyrie wanted to do within the sport. I mean, they're not going to keep him as an athlete really once he leaves. They'll probably still send him, if he was still part of Nike when he retired, they'd probably send him care packages, but he's not like that player that once they retire that they still want to be somewhat of a face or to show up and do certain things and be attached to the brand. So with also Ja Morant and Devin Booker's, both their signature sneakers coming out in 2023, I think they were kind of just like, okay, well, we've got our two next superstars coming up for basketball. So it's whatever. We kind of already made what we need to make and go from there. I just still think it's sickening that I have to see that Kyrie is not a part of Nike because it's just going to feel really, really weird. But I have a few places that I hope he lands and decides to do things with, but I will keep my fingers crossed and hope it happens. I'll talk about it on For the Love of Hype, as Sam mentioned. But yeah, I honestly want to, I mean, you get some sneakers, you're interested in the sneaker world, you enjoy buying kicks yourself. What is your thoughts on this? Do you care? Where do you think, or how do you think this plays out?
I care. I don't know if this is a hot take because I'm not as in the sneaker world as you certainly are. I listen to your podcast. We have conversations about it, but I think Kyrie's probably like the second most iconic line, like currently, right? Like, I mean, his kicks, like, what are they on now? Like 6 now or 7? Somewhere around there.
I forgot the number.
Yeah, it's like they're still really popular. They still look like the colorways are dope. Like the insignia, the meaning behind what he's doing, he certainly puts a lot of effort. There's a lot of backstory to each one of his drops. Like people are, I see him on people all the time. You see him on celebrities too. You know, what are the hot lines now, especially for Nike, right? You have Jordans, Kobe's, Kyrie's were right up there. You'd say they were more popular than LeBron sneakers. I think they look better.
Kyrie's, no, they're not. They're not more. They are more popular
Yeah,
than LeBron
it's just-
sneakers.
and that's
Way more popular
yeah.
than LeBron sneakers.
And LeBron was supposed to be, it was supposed to be this like, next generation type of line here. And it's, I
Bron
think
sneakers. Bron sneakers are up there. To be fair,
Yeah,
they're up
he's got
there.
some nice
But
ones.
if you go to, especially speaking to parents, if you're a parent listening to this and your kids are in sports, and you go to any of these tournaments and look at the kids' feet, it's Giannis's, there's Katie's, and there's Kyrie's. Those are the most worn, and then Steph Curry, because Steph is Steph. And then there's Jordan's, right? Those are the top 5 right there for like kids balling, AAU, all that to get, because they're readily available. Kobe's a little bit different because the line is not active like that, and you have to go out and buy Kobe's and find them and do all that stuff. And kids do wear bronze, but they don't wear it as much as those 5 that I mentioned. So yeah, Kyrie's are, Sam, to your point, Kyrie's are in top 2 for basketball, top 3 for basketball, I'd say. Period.
Yeah. So I think I'd be interested to see where he goes and if he has, what the public opinion on him is, and if he lands somewhere, whether it's like Puma, Adidas, or wherever, what Under Armour or whatever, where if he still has that same interest, especially with what has happened and how people hear things secondhand or aren't into the news as much as you and I have been with the story, and then it just takes on different opinions and different forms. It'd be interesting to see where he lands there as far as just from a retail sense.
Every single Kyrie
Interesting.
that I looked at on Nike while you were talking are all on sale. Every single one is on sale right now. I don't
on the
know if
website.
Yep, I don't know if that's because of this, but yeah, every single one is on sale.
And that was For the Love of Hype podcast. Thank you so much. No, real quick too, in World Cup news, I know we were bummed over the weekend. The USA men's national team lost to the Netherlands 3-1. It wasn't close. Garbage time goal for the US there, but a rough loss. I can't say I follow men's soccer very closely, but it was fun while it lasted. Hopefully we can get back and win a gold or something. I don't know.
I just still think it's weird that we as a country are the only country that call it soccer when it's football.
Yeah, and we're so
just-
arrogant about it too.
Yeah, it's so
It's
weird.
so awful.
Like
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, we just want to be different and call it soccer. Anyway, it was super sad to watch that. And to watch these young men pour their hearts out, but they're a very young team. They went against a veteran Netherlands team, and that's not even one of the best Netherlands team in recent memories. But there was mistakes. Pulisic had a opportunity in the first 3 minutes to put the U.S. national team up and missed on that, and there's just some lapses in defense, and it just didn't really add up. Shout out to Tyler Adams, our Wappingers Falls guy. Seeing all his pictures of him when he was young at Marist and all this stuff, local stuff around us, it warms the heart to see him and knowing that he was a captain of this team, and that he's extremely young and this team is extremely young and they're just going to grow up. There's a lot of storylines here, and there's a lot of really, really good players. One that didn't even start but came in certain times from the tri-state as well. So just happy to see that, and happy to see how these kids have gained respect on the international level, because a lot of them play for clubs overseas, and that's what they always needed is not just guys that play here in MLS. It's not MLS is where you come to have your career die, essentially. Like Messi's about to sign and come here. Messi's not playing in Europe really anymore. If he could, he would. But it's nice to see these young guys going across the pond and getting their chance to shine over there. So in 4 more years, we'll see what happens. We'll definitely see what happens. So
Yeah, totally agree with you there. I've seen this take happen a lot on Twitter and whatnot over the last couple weeks. If we had our best athletes play soccer, we would completely destroy everyone. I don't know, but we don't have our best athletes playing soccer.
no,
Can you imagine like LeBron James is like the prototypical, like not made in a lab, right? And like someone with peak prime athleticism like Russell Westbrook playing soccer, like John Morant, get out of here, man. It would be nuts. But it was fun while it lasted. Maybe next time we'll get into it a little more.
You should.
I say that every 2 years because of the Olympics and the World Cup and everything. But that's our podcast. Thank you so much for listening. And check us out on Instagram at Chasing Points Podcast, chasingpointspodcast.com. Episode 79 in the books for Brandon. My name is Sam. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great week. And that's it. Happy birthday, Natalie.
Happy birthday, Natalie. This is for you space invaders out here. No, I'm not talking about the video games. You people that don't know how to stay out of people's personal spaces. More specifically, when I'm in the grocery store. Sam, I will tell you this, sir. When I was in the grocery store the other day, I was minding my business at the deli, looking to get some cold cuts, just to add some protein to my diet when I'm working. And this young man comes out of nowhere and walks right in front of me where I'm looking, and I just stop and just stare at him as if I wasn't here. Now, the old Brandon probably would have picked up some Land O'Lakes cheese and smacked him right in the face with it, but that's the old Brandon, and I've turned a new leaf. But to say that image did not run through my head multiple times would be an absolute lie. This doesn't just stop at the grocery store. This happens to those that are in the gym. If you see somebody lifting weights right in front of the mirror, don't come and do a set directly in front of them, you jerk off. Go somewhere else. There's other mirrors. You don't need to be right there. It's called gym etiquette. It's called personal space etiquette. People, sometimes some of you have this nasty BO, and I don't want to smell that, and you're in my space. And guess what? When you have that BO, sometimes it just stays and lingers right in the stash, and I have to smell it for the rest of the time me working out. I don't want to smell that. Don't want to smell you. Don't want you in my space. Please go somewhere else. Ask kindly. Walk somewhere else. It's just courtesy is the word of the week. Courtesy. Google it. You have a phone. You have a computer. You have a tablet. Do something. Be better. Do better. Happy holidays.